All right, let's delve into the discussion now as the president of Nigeria Liquefied Petroleum Gas Association, Nuhu Yakubu, uh, joins me from our Lagos Network Center. You're welcome to Weekend File.
Yeah, good evening. Thank you, Josie. Thanks for having me.
Start with the frequently asked question: why the rampant cases of um, fire outbreaks, emanating from gas outlets in the country in recent times?
I think largely you can ascribe the incidents of fire outbreaks to poor safety awareness amongst users of gas and then traders of gas, of LPG. So between the users of LPG, as you know, there's been a growing demand for LPG with growing awareness on the part of Nigerians, the consumers, as to the benefits of the use of LPG for cooking. That has led to more demand for cooking gas, but there's not been corresponding safety awareness dissemination to coach people as to how best to handle gas use for domestic purposes or industrial purposes. Likewise, also for the traders of LPG, be them gas plant owners or retailers, you see a lot of people rush into the LPG space. I saw Chelsea Cooker's report earlier on, where one of the respondents was ascribing a lot of profits to the LPG business. But what people see is a profit side, but they are blind to the safety side. So there's a lot to be done on the public awareness and coaching people as to how to properly handle gas, and as to exactly why you have a lot of these fire incidents at filling plants. Most of the reports we have gathered, we have a very robust safety department at the NLPGA, Nigeria LPG Association, and we usually follow up with each of these incidents so that we can learn one or two things from each of these incidents. And then what we have gathered from our findings is that usually as a result of loss of containment, gas is meant to be contained within spaces, within confined spaces. But when gas escapes from this confined space, whether by leakage or poor connections during discharge or filling operation, and then there's the ignition source anywhere around, if it can cause a lot of havoc, and that's what we've been experiencing across the country.
Mr. Nuhu, most of these gas outlets are located in residential, areas. Are you saying that your members just, wake up and erect these structures or put up these centers at will?
Not correct. That's not exactly true. Even though we have a few deviants, yes, but most times you have these gas plants will have been approved by the building authorities, because in every state, local government will have the building authorities who will issue the approvals to establish a filling plant or even a petroleum products to retail outlets, okay, at a location. And as you know, the key regulator who is responsible for issuance of permits, licenses to trade LPG in localities, neighborhoods, in our cities and towns and villages is the DPR. And one of the critical requirements of DPR is the town planning approval. Without the town planning approval, which is a necessary requirement, and environmental impact assessment, in fact, environmental impact and social assessment, they will not issue a permit. So the DPR usually will rely on the local authorities, either the local government or the state government approval, before they then progress the application. Usually what happens on the part of the operators is you find a situation where someone will have obtained an approval from local government or state authority to build a plant, all right, to site a plant at a location, and he doesn't go construct the plant immediately. Maybe a few years go down, and then houses spring up all around. And then before you know it, the local authorities will have also issued approvals for other structures that may not necessarily be, that should have been some minimal distances away from these filling plants. That's on the one hand. On the other hand, you have filling plants will have been installed already, and then the local authorities will further approve building plans for other developments around the filling plants that have already been cited, thereby compromising the safety requirements that enabled DPR to have approved the siting of the gas plant in that location in the first place. And one of those safety requirements is minimum distance. There's what they call the minimum safety distances required per category or per capacity of storage you're going to have in any particular location. And once you begin to have a gas...
Yeah, sorry for just interjecting there. When we come back, we are going to talk about the whole safety requirements and all. But for now, let's pause the discussion and take some messages. This is Weekend File. Our reporter Hadiza Ebune says it is somewhat different scenario in Bakin Iku, Kaduna Road, a settlement in Suleja local government area of Niger State, as residents are protesting what they call the inappropriate location of a gas plant within their community.
The construction sites of the gas plants, it is a multi-million naira investment. Residents of Bakin Iku Kaduna Road in Suleja would have nothing to do with this new development in their neighborhood because of the fear of their safety. According to them, the project is located in the heart of their town and would compromise their safety and bring about severe environmental hazard when it becomes operational.
We need government to interfere, please, because we are living here. We have houses here, we have children, we have many people.
Though we have petroleum station, filling station around, but we know there's a difference between gas and petrol. Gas is volatile, so it can cause harm anytime.
The community have sued the two companies undertaking the project, and as a result, one of the companies has stopped further work. However, the other has continued with construction, insisting that he has up-to-date documents.
Those dragging, I can equally say that dragging blindly, because those complaining the distance from the gas plant to their house, as far as I'm concerned, about 300 to 400 meters different.
On my second visit to the community, the constructions have been completed and part of it is in full operation. All efforts to speak with management proved abortive. The residents, however, are not shifting ground. For them, the project is dangerous and would rather prefer it located further from the current location with heavy human activities.
Gas plant sited in between the Catholic Church and the mosque across, and a couple of schools around where the two gas plants is sited. It's a danger risk to the community.
They want the relevant authorities to intervene on this matter in order to avoid any kind of disaster. Hadiza Godwin Ebuni, NTA News.
All right, let's continue our discussion. I still have the president of Nigeria Liquefied Petroleum Gas Association, Nuhu Yakubu. All right, so just before we went on that break, you were talking about safety requirement. Talk us through that, but most importantly, tell us how sustainable is the enforcement of safety requirements, and are there provisions to penalize defaulters?
Well, thank you. The regulations are very clear on the safety requirements. We have very robust regulations, whether on the part of the Standards Organization of Nigeria, which regulates the quality of systems, equipment to be deployed for use for constructing LPG filling plants or LPG retail consumption plants or cylinders or what have you, hoses and valves. We equally have very robust regulations from the Department of Petroleum Resources that governs the design and siting of filling plants at any locality, be it in a city or even the community-based gas plants. I mean, what people are not realizing that the community-based gas plant actually speaks to the need to bring gas closer to the people. However, whether the plant is big or small, or whether it is in in a community or in a big city or in a large expanse of land, that's not really the issue. At what point do we want a gas plant to explode? We don't want any gas plant to explode, whether it is in a big city or with open space in a football field or whether it's in a tight location. If the plant is well designed and built and there's proper observance of procedures, all right, or standard operating procedures as enshrined in the guidelines, we will have no problems. For plants that do not have those distances or that developments have now come too close to the plant, there are still mitigants, safety mitigants, including bond walling to ensure that even when there's some bit of leak, it doesn't seep out towards to environs to find the nearest ignition point. All right, so everything is there in the guidelines. So I think the Nigerian people need to understand that there has had to be a balance between the use of gas supply and demand of gas and the systems, equipment, and infrastructure that are required to deliver gas to them. All right, I don't blame them. There's been a lot of scare all around the place, but it's not as bad as we think. For a country whose demand growth has been so exponential versus the incidents we are reporting, I think we're doing okay as a country, okay? But of course, there's room for improvement.
Yakubu, we're doing okay, all right? Well, that's, that might be, debated, if in that context. But finally, what would be your parting words? Talking to your members, talking to Nigerians, relatively how we can work towards avoiding these mishaps.
I think there's need for improvement in compliance monitoring. Whether the plant is an old plant, a new plant, it doesn't matter. At NLPGA, what we have done, we have developed a self-regulatory template called the safety checklist, which we have educated our members to how to use, where you apply this checklist to check yourselves to know that your gas plant meets minimum requirements. So that even before the regulator comes to you, you will have already applied the checklist to improve your facility standards. And then also, the regulators on their own part, aside the fact that they have designed these very robust regulations, there has to be more boots on ground on compliance monitoring. Compliance monitoring doesn't necessarily be punitive. Compliance monitoring should be such that you visit gas plants and educate them as to what they need to do to improve the quality of their gas plants and the operations of their gas plants. All right, so compliance monitoring and then later on enforcement for gas plants that are not meeting up is the way to go, because already I think sometimes we miss the point when we want to continue to over-regulate. We want to add more and more regulations to existing regulations when even the regulations we have already are not being met because of poor compliance monitoring. So whereas our regulators have done fantastically well with robust, globally acceptable guidelines, but they need to be compliance monitoring.
All right. Thank you, Nuhu Yakubu. Well, as we are working towards ensuring safety at home, we should not also forget that safety at workplaces is also of great importance to keep all of us safe in the country.